Have you ever felt like life keeps showing you the same lesson over and over again? Different faces, different places, but the same ache beneath it all. It's as if something invisible is trying to speak to you through the repetition, through the chaos, through the people who trigger the deepest parts of your soul. What if none of this was random? What if everything that happens to you isn't happening to you at all, but through you? Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." What if fate isn't a force outside of you, but a mirror held up by your own psyche, reflecting everything you've refused to see? Think about it. Every betrayal, every rejection, every missed opportunity, what if they were never punishments, but projections, echoes of your own hidden mind trying to make itself known? There's a strange comfort in believing that life is happening to us. It keeps us innocent. It gives us someone to blame. But what happens when you start to suspect that every person who hurt you was simply carrying a message from your unconscious? What happens when you realize that you've been meeting yourself over and over again in every experience you've ever had? This isn't about mysticism or wishful thinking. It's about the deepest truth Jung uncovered, the truth that shattered psychology itself. The idea that reality, as you experience it, isn't truly real. It's a psychological projection, a living film produced by the hidden parts of your mind. And once you understand that, once you see what's really happening beneath the surface of your life, nothing will ever look the same again. Because the world outside might not be outside at all. It might just be you trying to find yourself in disguise. And if that's true, what is your life really trying to show you right now? Have you ever noticed how life whispers before it screams? It starts so quietly, like a strange dream that lingers when you wake up, or that subtle pressure in your chest when something just doesn't feel right. You brush it off, tell yourself you're imagining things, that it's just stress, coincidence, or bad timing. Yet the same feeling returns, the same pattern unfolds. The same lesson, wrapped in a different disguise, finds its way back to you. You start seeing numbers repeating on clocks, hearing the same phrase from different mouths, feeling a chill in your spine, right before something changes. You walk into a room and sense a heaviness you can't explain. You think of someone seconds before they call. You dream of a place you've never been, and weeks later, you find yourself standing in it. It's easy to ignore these moments, to label them as chance. But what if they aren't coincidences at all? What if they're messages, coded signals from the deeper layers of your own consciousness, trying to break through the noise of your busy mind? You wake up at 3:33 a.m., heart racing, as if something is calling you. You meet someone new, and though you've never seen their face before, something in their eyes feels ancient, familiar in a way that logic can't explain. You lose something valuable, only to find it in the last place you'd ever look, as if the universe were testing whether you're paying attention. Maybe you've had days where everything feels too heavy, where no amount of distraction quiets the unease inside you. You blame work, relationships, money, but deep down, there's a voice you can't silence, a voice that whispers, "This isn't random. There's something you're supposed to see." Jung called this the language of the unconscious. It doesn't speak in words, it speaks in symbols, sensations, and synchronicities. The unconscious doesn't text you or knock politely. It moves the world around you until you finally notice. It uses your emotions, your dreams, even your pain to say, "Look here, something inside you wants to be seen." But we rarely listen. We think we're rational beings living in a predictable world. Yet how many times have you said, "I knew this would happen," right after it did? How many times have you ignored your intuition, only to wish you hadn't? You've probably felt that invisible thread too, the one that ties together your relationships, losses, and desires. You meet someone who mirrors your deepest wounds. You find yourself in the same argument, just with different people. You move cities, start fresh, change everything, and yet the same feelings return, like ghosts that followed you across the distance. You start to wonder, why does this keep happening to me? But what if the real question is, what inside me is trying to be known through this? Because life doesn't punish, it reflects. It doesn't repeat to torture you, it repeats to reveal you. Those physical sensations, the déjà vu moments, the inexplicable heaviness before a big change, they're not random noise. They're messages encoded in your experience, guiding you back toward the parts of yourself you've abandoned. Some people call them spiritual signs, others call them psychological projections. Jung believed they were both. He said the psyche has a way of rearranging the outer world to mirror the inner one. The dream doesn't end when you wake up. It simply becomes three-dimensional, and you start walking through it. Think of the last time you had an argument that left you drained, or a disappointment that hit harder than it should have. Beneath the words, beneath the circumstances, there was a lesson forming, a reflection of an old wound asking to be healed. Every emotion, every encounter, every strange coincidence is part of a secret dialogue between your conscious self and the vast ocean beneath it. You might think you're alone in your confusion, but you're not. Millions of people feel it too. The quiet suspicion that something larger, invisible, is shaping their path. That maybe, just maybe, there's meaning hiding in the ordinary. And once you start seeing the patterns, once you start recognizing the signs, not as accidents but as mirrors, you can't unsee them. Because suddenly you realize the question isn't, why is this happening? It's, who inside me is speaking through this? And once that thought takes root, it changes everything you thought you knew about reality. There's a truth so old, so powerful, that it's been buried beneath centuries of noise, a truth that mystics whispered in temples, that prophets tried to describe through parables, and that Carl Jung rediscovered in the language of psychology. It's this: nothing outside of you is separate from what's inside of you. The outer world isn't a stage you're walking on. It's a mirror reflecting your own soul in motion. When Jung studied the human mind, he realized that what most people call reality is not objective at all. It's a psychological projection, an externalized movie of your unconscious being played in front of you. Every person, every conflict, every emotion that erupts in your chest, all of it is the psyche revealing itself through form. He called it the projection of the unconscious. To understand this, imagine a beam of light passing through stained glass. The light itself is pure, white, and infinite, but as it passes through the glass, it takes on colors, shapes, distortions. The patterns on the wall are not random. They are the projection of what's hidden in the glass. That's exactly how your consciousness works. The outer world is your light, passing through the stained glass of your psyche, your fears, desires, wounds, and forgotten memories, painting the scenes you call life. And here's the first great secret. What you reject within yourself appears to you as fate. Think of the people who trigger you, the ones who awaken anger, jealousy, or judgment. It feels like they're the problem, doesn't it? But Jung discovered that these people are not random irritations. They are mirrors of your shadow. The traits you condemn in them are the traits you've disowned in yourself. The control freak, the liar, the arrogant one, you don't just meet them. You create them energetically as reflections of your unintegrated nature. A woman once told Jung that every man in her life was cold and distant. She begged to know why she kept attracting the same kind of person. Jung didn't tell her to fix the men. He asked her, where in yourself have you frozen your own feelings? After months of reflection, she saw it. Her father had taught her that emotions were weakness, so she had buried her sensitivity deep inside. Her life simply mirrored that decision. The cold men were not punishment. They were her own frozen heart, standing before her in human form. Can you see the pattern in your own story, the betrayal that repeats, the rejection that echoes, the dream that always slips away? What if those weren't life's cruelties, but the psyche trying to reveal itself through repetition? Every projection is an invitation. Life keeps replaying the same lessons, not because it's cruel, but because the unconscious is patient, endlessly patient. It will keep sending the same message through different messengers until you finally see what's being shown. The ancients understood this long before psychology gave it language. In the Hermetic teachings of Egypt, they called it the principle of correspondence. As above, so below, as within, so without. Every outer event corresponds to an inner truth. You're not living in a universe that punishes or rewards you. You're living in a mirror that reflects your consciousness back at you. The wise knew that enlightenment wasn't escaping reality, but seeing reality for what it truly is. The self looking at itself. Jung's brilliance was to make this mystical truth practical. He showed that by taking back your projections, you reclaim your power. The people you resent lose their hold on you. The fears that haunted you dissolve. Because when you own your darkness, it no longer needs to appear outside of you to get your attention. But here's the hidden meaning most people miss. Projection isn't just about what you dislike, it's also about what you idolize. That person you can't stop thinking about, the one who feels magnetic and larger than life. They're not holding your missing piece. They're showing you a part of yourself you've forgotten how to love. You're not attracted to them. You're attracted to your own potential reflected in them. The power, the beauty, the wisdom you see in others, all of it belongs to you, waiting to be remembered. Every reaction you have, good or bad, is a message from your unconscious. That's why Jung said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. The world is your dreamscape, and every character in it is a symbol. So the next time someone triggers you, don't rush to escape the discomfort. Ask yourself, what part of me is this showing me? The moment you ask that question sincerely, the mirror shifts. You stop being the victim of your story and start becoming its interpreter. That's the first initiation into the deeper mystery, realizing that every conflict, every coincidence, every intense emotion is communication from your own soul. You are not being tested by life. You are being revealed to yourself through life. It's unsettling at first, this realization that everything you've blamed or praised was just your reflection. But it's also liberating. Because if it's all a mirror, then healing one part of you transforms the whole image. You begin to notice that the world softens when you do. People respond differently when you stop projecting old wounds onto them. Circumstances shift when you no longer resist what they're trying to teach. It's as if the universe breathes easier once you stop fighting your own reflection. And that's the hidden promise buried in this first secret. The moment you understand projection, you gain the key to transformation. Not by forcing life to change, but by seeing life for what it really is, a sacred dialogue between your conscious and unconscious mind. If this truth resonates with you, if it feels like something deep inside just remembered, then honor that moment. Let it settle in your heart. And if you want to keep exploring this circle of ancient knowledge, this community of souls awakening together, take a second to like this video and subscribe. You'll not only help more people find this truth, you'll become part of something greater, a quiet movement of consciousness remembering itself. Because the world outside you is only as awake as the world within you, and something inside you is starting to wake up. I remember a woman who once wrote to me after watching a talk about Jung's idea of projection. Her message was simple at first. I think I finally understand why my life keeps repeating itself. But as she began to tell her story, I realized she was describing something far deeper than psychology. She was describing awakening. Her name was Elena. She was in her late 40s, quiet, reserved, the kind of person who always smiled politely, but whose eyes carried storms behind them. For years, she had been trapped in the same cycle. Different people, same pain. Every relationship ended the same way. She felt unseen, unheard, invisible. She had come to believe the universe was cruelly predictable, that some people were destined to love too much and be loved too little. But one night, something strange happened. She woke up from a vivid dream, one she couldn't shake. In it, she was standing in a room of mirrors, endless reflections stretching in every direction. Each reflection showed her at a different age, wearing different clothes, in different moments of her life, laughing, crying, angry, numb. But none of them could see her. No matter how loud she screamed, her reflections kept repeating their scenes as if trapped in time. Then a voice, calm, quiet, almost familiar, whispered from behind her, "They're not ignoring you. They're waiting for you to see them." She woke up trembling. Her chest hurt, as if she had cried for hours. The next morning, she couldn't stop thinking about it. "They're waiting for you to see them." The words followed her everywhere, through breakfast, through work, through the noise of her day. That evening, she sat alone by the window and asked herself, what if the people who keep hurting me aren't here to punish me, but to show me something I've refused to see? That single question cracked something open. She began to notice small details she had never seen before. When her partner ignored her needs, she felt rage. But beneath it, she found a deep fear of voicing what she wanted. When her mother criticized her, she felt shame. But beneath it, she found her own inner critic, harsher than any voice outside. And when her friends drifted away, she felt abandoned. But beneath that pain, she realized she had been abandoning herself for years. Her life hadn't been against her, it had been her, a living reflection of the parts of herself she had buried. Elena started keeping a journal, not of events, but of reflections. Each night, she'd write one question. What did life mirror back to me today? At first, it was painful. She saw her control, her fear, her guilt, her longing for validation. But as the weeks passed, she began to feel something new: compassion. The kind of compassion that doesn't come from words, but from seeing yourself clearly for the first time. She told me that one afternoon she sat in her car after another argument with her partner. She was crying, ready to leave again, ready to repeat the same ending. But then, in the middle of her sobbing, she looked into the rearview mirror and saw her own eyes. Swollen, red, but steady. "It hit me," she said. "All these years I wasn't trying to escape them. I was trying to escape me." And in that small moment, the mirror, literal and metaphorical, finally changed. Her relationship didn't magically become perfect, but the dynamic shifted. She started speaking her truth calmly instead of shouting it. She stopped expecting people to guess her needs and began expressing them. And the most surprising part? The people who couldn't meet her where she was quietly drifted away. The ones who could stayed. Life rearranged itself effortlessly, as if it had just been waiting for her to wake up. She said, "It's strange. I used to think life was teaching me lessons. Now I see it was simply showing me where I was asleep." When I heard her story, I couldn't help but think of my own. There was a time I used to run from my shadows too, hiding behind busyness, achievements, and spiritual knowledge. I thought if I read enough, learned enough, meditated enough, I could outgrow my pain. But the truth is, no one escapes their reflection. Life will keep holding it up to you until you finally look. Not to judge, but to recognize. I remember a night that changed everything for me. I'd been pushing myself too hard, ignoring every signal my body gave me. Headaches, exhaustion, silence where my laughter used to be. I kept saying, "I'm fine." But one night, sitting alone in the dark, I felt something break open inside me. A quiet surrender. Not despair, just stillness. And in that stillness I felt it, the presence of something watching me, not outside, but within. A calm awareness, patient and loving, as if saying, "I've been here all along, waiting for you to stop running." That night I didn't try to fix anything. I didn't pray for change. I just listened. And somehow, in that silence, I began to see every struggle, every disappointment, every person who had walked away. They were never against me. They were me trying to wake me up to myself. Since that moment, I've looked at life differently. When someone triggers me, I ask, what part of me is being mirrored here? When I lose something, I ask, what is this loss revealing? And when I feel pain, I ask, what is my soul trying to show me through this feeling? It doesn't make life easier. It makes it truer. Elena once told me that she sometimes still dreams of the mirror room. But now, when she looks at her reflections, they look back and smile. And maybe that's what awakening really is. Not becoming perfect, not escaping pain, but finally looking at every version of yourself, even the broken ones, and saying, "I see you." Because that's where the healing begins. That's where the story starts to change. If you've ever lived something like this, if you've had a dream, a sign, or a moment that felt like life was speaking directly to you, I'd love to hear it. Leave your story in the comments below. Share the moment that woke you up, or the pattern you finally saw for what it was. I read each one personally, and in the next videos I'll mention some of the most powerful ones, so that others in this community, this circle of awakening souls, can find light in your story too. Because when one of us sees the truth, it helps all of us see a little clearer. And sometimes your reflection might be exactly what someone else needs to find their own. There is a second secret Jung hinted at, one that bridges understanding and transformation. If the first revelation is that life mirrors your inner world, the second is that every mirror can become a portal. What you see outside you is not just reflection, it's invitation. Every repeated emotion, every familiar frustration, every sudden synchronicity, they're doorways leading back into your own consciousness. And once you learn to walk through them instead of fighting them, everything changes. The universe doesn't speak in sentences, it speaks in symbols. That's why your dreams, your relationships, even the random things you notice during your day, all seem to carry a strange energy when you're ready to see them differently. The moment you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this showing me?" you move from projection to participation. You begin to collaborate with your unconscious instead of being controlled by it. Let me show you what that really means. Imagine you're driving to work and the same song plays again, the one that used to remind you of someone you lost. Your chest tightens, memories flood back. For years you've turned it off, dismissing it as coincidence or nostalgia. But this time, you pause. You let it play. You feel the ache rise like a tide. You don't resist. You simply ask, what part of me is speaking through this memory? And suddenly, an answer forms, not in words, but in feeling. You realize it's the part of you that still longs to be held, to be seen, to be safe. That realization, that silent recognition, is the doorway. You didn't change the song. You changed the listener. That's how projection dissolves, not by forcing life to stop mirroring your wounds, but by acknowledging what they're reflecting. Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." But he also said something less quoted, that when consciousness meets the unconscious with awareness, transformation occurs. This brings us to the second secret. Everything that triggers you is your teacher in disguise. Think about that for a moment. Every frustration, every envy, every irritation, these are not flaws to hide, but messages to decode. The outer world agitates you only where your inner world is asking for attention. A person who disrespects you mirrors the part of you that doesn't yet know its own worth. A situation that leaves you powerless points toward the places where you've forgotten your strength. Here's how you can begin to work with this. A simple but profound practice Jung used himself. The technique, the mirror pause. Recognize the reaction. The next time something triggers you, a person, a situation, even a thought, don't escape it. Feel it. Notice the energy in your body. Anger, sadness, defensiveness. Just observe it arise. Name the reflection. Ask quietly, what is this showing me about myself? Not what's wrong with them, but what inside me is being mirrored here. You'll often hear a subtle answer. Maybe a memory, maybe a sentence, maybe just a knowing. Don't force it, just listen. Reclaim the projection. When you see the pattern, take ownership. Say inwardly, this is my creation. This is my psyche speaking to me. By doing this, you dissolve the illusion of separation between you and the outer event. Offer compassion. Don't judge what you find. The parts that act out through projection are not evil. They're wounded. Whisper to that feeling, I see you now. That single sentence can heal what years of resistance could not. Release the mirror. Once you've seen it, you no longer need to relive it. You don't have to cling to the person, the emotion, or the story. Just thank the mirror for showing you what you needed to see, and let it fade. Do this once a day for a week, and watch how your life begins to rearrange itself. Conversations change, conflict softens, opportunities emerge where before there was frustration. It's not magic, it's alignment. The unconscious no longer needs to shout through chaos when it knows you're listening. You might start to notice that even your dreams feel different. They become clearer, more symbolic, as if your psyche realizes you're finally fluent in its language. You might find yourself drawn to new people, new ideas, reflections of the version of you that's waking up. That's the beauty of awareness. It doesn't erase your old patterns, it redeems them. This practice is not about control, it's about relationship between you and the deeper intelligence that moves through you. The unconscious doesn't want to punish you, it wants to partner with you. And once you begin to treat your life as a sacred conversation, instead of a series of random events, you enter the stream of synchronicity that Jung called meaningful coincidence. Imagine the relief of realizing that life has never been against you. The heartbreaks, the delays, the unexpected endings, they were not detours. They were directions, each one carrying the same message. Come home to yourself. And yet, Jung hinted that there's a level beyond even this. A sign not in the outer world, but in the fabric of consciousness itself. A phenomenon so subtle that most people overlook it completely. Yet when you see it, you'll know the self behind all mirrors. That's the hidden key, the next step that almost no one talks about. So before we open that final door, take a moment to breathe. Let what you've heard settle. And if this speaks to something deep inside you, if it feels like your soul is remembering, then I invite you to become part of this growing circle of awakening minds. Subscribe to this channel, not just for more content, but to join a community that's walking this same path of reflection and discovery. Every like, every comment, every shared insight adds to the light we're building together. Because once you begin to truly see, you start to realize there's one more secret, one that changes everything you think you know about who you are. There comes a point on this path when words begin to fall short, when no philosophy, no theory, no teaching can contain what you now feel moving through you, because the truth you've touched isn't intellectual, it's living. It breathes through your eyes, it walks in your steps, it shapes every choice you make. You begin to see that the journey was never about learning something new. It was about remembering what had been whispering to you all along. You are not separate from the universe that created you. You are its expression. All those signs, The strange dreams, the repeated patterns, the faces that came and went like teachers disguised as pain. They were never punishments. They were awakenings. Each one a knock at the door of your soul saying, "It's time. In time to stop living as the victim of life and start living as its conscious participant. Time to see that the very things that once broke you open were not endings, but beginnings in disguise. The mirror that once felt like judgment has become revelation. The patterns that once haunted you have become teachers. And now, for the first time, you can look at your reflection, in the faces around you, in the chaos of the world, even in your own mistakes, and whisper, "I see what you were trying to show me." Because awakening doesn't mean escaping this world. It means walking through it with open eyes and an open heart. It means realizing that the same divine intelligence that spins galaxies also hides in the simplest details. The smile of a stranger, the warmth of sunlight, the ache that pushes you toward change. You begin to understand that there is no such thing as coincidence. Life is precise. Every heartbeat, every delay, every unexpected turn has always been guiding you toward this recognition. And perhaps now, as you listen, you can sense it, that subtle hum beneath everything. The awareness that's been with you since the beginning, waiting for you to stop searching outside and look inward. It doesn't ask you to be perfect. It only asks you to be present, because when you are truly present, you're no longer chasing meaning, you become it. So let this be your reminder. Your life is not random. You are not lost. You are not behind. Everything that has happened, every joy, every wound, every silence, has been the path itself, leading you right here to this moment of remembering. And from this point forward, you have a choice. You can keep looking for the next answer, the next sign, the next fix. Or you can pause and realize the answer has been you all along. The signs were never outside. They were reflections of the consciousness that's been calling you home. Now imagine what would happen if more of us lived from that awareness, if we each took responsibility for the reality we project, if we saw every encounter as sacred, if we treated the world not as something to conquer, but as something to communicate with. That's how collective awakening begins, one conscious soul at a time, choosing to see differently. And maybe that's why you found this video, not by chance, but by resonance. Because something in you already knows what's being said here. Something ancient, luminous, unbreakable. If these words have touched you, if they've stirred something you can't quite name, take a moment to anchor that feeling. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and become part of this growing community of souls awakening together. This space exists out of passion, not profit. Every like, every subscription keeps this message alive, helps it reach those who still feel alone in their search for meaning. And before you go, I'd love to hear your story. Leave a comment below with your name and city and tell me one sign, one dream, one strange coincidence that made you feel something greater was guiding you. In the next video, I'll mention some of your names, not as viewers, but as members of this living circle of awakening, because each story, each reflection, helps another soul remember that they are not alone. So breathe deeply. Let this truth settle in your heart. You were never waiting for a miracle. You have always been the miracle. And as you go back into your world, into your relationships, your work, your quiet moments, may you carry this awareness with you like a secret flame. You are the mirror and the light behind it. You are the question and the answer. You are what the universe has been waiting to remember. And perhaps, just perhaps, that remembering has only begun.